All right, so last time we wrapped up with finishing up this side of the big casing going into the kitchen, and we got the casing done on both sides of the door frame here, got it looking good. And as you remember, we got this scribed and got it nice and tight against the floor. So this is done. Now we're just waiting on some baseboard in here and some shoe molding to wrap this up. Today we're working over here by the foyer. As usual, I got tools and stuff scattered everywhere. But today we're working on the foyer. Got this door hung. We had it off to paint it and also to trim the bottom of the door to make sure that it didn't hit the brand new hardwoods. So we got that rehung, and right now we're working on casing both sides of the jamb on this foyer closet door and also this doorway going into the family room. So as you can see, had to beat the drywall, of course, to get it to fit around the top of the casing there. It was flush down here, looking pretty good, but for whatever reason, the drywall got out of whack here around the top, so it had to get whacked. So got it beat down, and I'm outside right now cutting casing, getting ready to bring those pieces in. This side is interesting because as you can see, it's really narrow next to this piece of casework here, so I'm actually gonna have to rip the back off of it. So I went ahead and cut it to length and then beveled the inside edges up here so that they would fold in nice and tight against each other. But now I got to take a measurement here and actually rip this piece down so it'll sit in right tight against the wall there, so we can get the right reveal on our finished opening here. And then on this side, I'll probably have to trim a little bit off of this piece as well to get it to fit in there nice and tight. So a little bit of complicated cut work here to get all this done. Once this casing's in, that pretty much takes care of all the casing here in the foyer. So I'm gonna be able to go ahead and get my baseboards down, which is really exciting. Once the base and the shoe goes in, this room will be pretty much wrapped up and it's gonna be looking really good. Looking forward to covering up this drywall down here because that's where we had to screw down into the floor joist to secure this wall. As the wood that was used to frame this part of the house seasoned, it shortened a little bit, and this wall actually got a little bit loose. You could actually wiggle it a little bit, and every time you walk through here, it would pop on the nails that was used to secure it to the floor below. So I actually ended up cutting out the drywall and then drilling down through the bottom plate into the floor joist below and using those big, I think they were like 5.5 inch construction screws to tighten that down against the subfloor. So no longer pops or moves or wiggles, everything's good and plumb. And once we get the baseboard down, nobody will be the wiser. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my cuts, and we'll go ahead and work on getting these pieces up around these doorways and then move on to our baseboard. All right, so we got our cased opening and our door opening for the closet cased out, looking really good. The cuts were a little tricky where we had to fit these two pieces into the corner. And so I ended up putting the long piece in first and ripping it down the entire way, and then cut this one to fit, and then just beveled the edge just a little bit, just to relieve the edge so it wouldn't look so sharp there. And that actually made it look pretty factory, just a little bit thinner. Had to take a 1/4 inch off that piece to get it to fit up against the other one. So a little bit of caulk and paint, this will be done. All these corners turned out pretty good, considering how kind of cockeyed everything was, and how everything just kind of came together in the same corner. Looks pretty good. So we're going to wrap up, get this done by putting a knob on the door, and then we'll get started on the baseboards. All right, so we got the lock set mounted on the door here, and it looks good. It matches everything else in the house. Now this door was actually one of the originals left over from the first build, and it was actually in good enough shape that we were able to keep it. So we took it, sanded it all down, and cleaned it up and gave it a good coat of paint. Actually looks really good. And we took it to our friends at Quality Woods, and they were able to go ahead and build us a jamb for it because the jamb was trashed. So that's one of the things we were able to keep, one of the original pieces of the house. So much we had to start over with, but this was one of the things we were able to keep. So the door looks good. Got our handle set on there. Now we're ready to move on to doing the baseboard. And that's where we're really going to see things change pretty quickly. Once we put the base and the shoe, and then the chair rail up in here. It's going to make this space really finished out, really looking good. Totally transform it. So we're going to get working on that. Go ahead and get some pieces measured out. I'll do my long piece first, and then we'll cope the little one. That'll be easier. So we'll go ahead and get that going, and catch you guys up here in a bit. All right, so we got this side done. Now we've got the base, shoe, and the chair rail in place, and got all those joints coped in nice. The wall where it meets the cased opening there was just a little bit cockeyed, so it kind of opened up my joint just a little bit. But once we put a little wood filler and a little caulk to it, we won't be able to tell at all. Next, we're going to move on to this wall here by the front door. And we're going to do the same thing again. Go ahead and put the base and the shoe and the chair rail down on this section. So we're going to go and get some measurements done and get this knocked out. Man, it's making such a difference to get this put into place.
Okay, last piece.
Last piece of the night. It's been a long afternoon here in the foyer.
Yes, it has been.
Between the base and the shoe and the chair rail and all the coping and dealing with the crooked corners.
Right.
Everything else, it's been challenging. So that just leaves this corner over here. We'll do that.
We'll get that.
Do that some other time.
Yeah. There's Reed.
All right, we'll put a couple nails in this thing and be done.
All right, sounds good.
All right, well, here's where we're going to wrap up for the evening. As you can see, we made a lot of progress today in the foyer. We got the casework done, got the door hung, got the doorknob and everything installed. And then we moved on and we did base and shoe around the entire space along with our chair rail. And we did our chair rail, base, and shoe over here to the door, and then just beyond the door, this last section of base and chair rail and shoe. And so the only thing that leaves is this little section right here. And there we've got to do the same thing, base, chair rail, and shoe. So we'll knock that out probably after the holidays. As you can see, we're starting to put some Christmas stuff out because it's Christmas this week. So amongst all the craziness, the repairs and the renovations, we're going to celebrate Christmas. So at any rate, we got some stuff out. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up there for the evening. Got to work a few days this week and probably knock out a few more things later on in the week before Christmas gets here. But we're going to wrap up for tonight and get some rest for the coming work. So that's going to wrap up this episode of Woodmere Estate Revival. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We made a good bit of progress on our moldings in the kitchen and here in the foyer. So we're tickled to death to see this stage being completed because that's when the rooms really come to life. That's what makes such a big difference to see the moldings and everything. It just gives it a finished look, a polished look, and it's really exciting because we know that is the last phase. So we know that we're getting really close to the end. So thanks for hanging out with us through this episode. Be sure to hit that subscription button so you don't miss a single episode coming up. And as always, give us a like. If you got any comments or questions, feel free to leave those down below. And we'll see you guys again with another episode real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.